Good afternoon. I'm Police Chief John Hutto, and I'd like to welcome everyone to the Police Service's 24th Annual Award Ceremony. Will everyone please stand for the presentation of the colors and the singing of the National Anthem by Peyton Wills.
Say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave for the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Order, ho! House turn, ho!
Audience, please be seated. That was awesome. Can we give Peyton a round of applause, please? In addition to recognizing our employees and affiliates each year, we also like to take a moment to recognize the engagement and community involvement our agency has been involved in over the last year. For example, on December 12th, we participated in Shop with a Cop, an annual event that gives families facing challenges a chance to bring home some holiday cheer. Over 40 children participated in the event this year. And prior to the event, we were showing pictures up there, and hopefully you saw some pictures from that event. In February, several Fort Collins Police Services employees participated in the Polar Plunge at Horsetooth Reservoir. This event benefits Special Olympics, and our team raised over $2,200 for the cause. So I'd like to thank those that participated in Freezing for a Reason. An upcoming event is the Police Unity Tour, and this year is the 20th anniversary of the tour. Several of our officers are involved in this tour, and each year the team grows and new riders are added. They commit to ride over 300 miles from Somerset, New Jersey to Washington, D.C. and fundraise $2,000 each on their own time. The money raised goes to the National Law Enforcement Officers Memorial and helps support the families of fallen officers. This year, the group consists of, and if you're here, please stand. This group consists of Sergeant Kim Cochran, Officer Julia Chenoweth, Officer David Lindsay, Officer Maureen No, Officer Doug Miller, Officer Yu Matsui, Officer Stuart Music, and Officer Aaron Mast. We wish them the best of luck on their ride and thank them for representing our agency in such a positive and significant way. Actions such as these illustrate why I'm so proud to be a part of this agency, an agency that gives so much to not only the citizens of Fort Collins, but many other causes as well. Now, before we begin, I would like to ask everyone to bow your heads for a moment of silence for those officers who have given the ultimate sacrifice to keep their communities safe. Thank you. I'd also like to take a moment to recognize my staff and several dignitaries in the audience that are with us today. Seating on the stage to my left are members of my executive staff, Assistant Chief Jerry Schager over the Administrative Division, Deputy Chief Greg Yeager, Information Services Division, Deputy Chief Dave Haywood, Criminal Investigations Division, and Deputy Chief Mike Trombley of the Patrol Division. Helping me with the awards is Lieutenant Dan Murphy from the Professional Standards Unit. So this is the part I always mess up, the special guests that are here with us, because I always miss people that walk in, and so I apologize in advance if you're here and I didn't see you come in. Council members, saw Ray Martinez. Thank you very much, Counselor, for being here. City Manager Darren Atterbury, Deputy City Manager Jeff Mihalik. I believe I saw a few other members of the executive lead team here as well. Thank you for being here. District Attorney Cliff Riedel. I did see Cliff. Thank you. Chief of Police, Colorado State University, Scott Harris. Poudre Fire Authority Chief Tom DeMint is here. Thank you, Tom. Justin Smith, Larimer County Sheriff, as well as Bill Nelson, the Undersheriff. And like I said, if I missed anybody, I apologize. I would also like to recognize our awards committee that make this ceremony possible every year. We couldn't pull this off without you. So the committee chairperson is Lieutenant Dan Murphy, sitting over here. Crime analyst Brandy Kristen, Officer Matt Erdman, record specialist Kelly French, administrative assistant Kelly Gavin, Officer Paul Harding, Officer Mike Knudsen, administrative assistant Terry Murphy, dispatch supervisor Amy Raditz, Sergeant Kent Robinson, and Detective Kelly Weaver. So if I get a round of applause for those folks. This is our first year holding the awards ceremony here at Timberline Church. A special thank you to the staff here in your help with the ceremony. Now I would like to introduce our city manager, Darren Atterbury.
I want to say welcome. We appreciate you being here, and particularly for our partners in the community as well that are not related to Fort Collins Police Services. We appreciate you being here, and we appreciate the partnership very much. It matters a lot. Also, just for family members, I know there's a lot of supporting family members here, and also just friends of the department. I know there are, as Chief Hutto said, there are some executive team members here. There's Ray Martinez, and then also some of our supporting departments. So really on behalf of them, and I get to say on behalf of the mayor and the city council, and really our 160,000 residents in this community, I just get to say thank you for the work that's going on, and for our officers, for our sergeants, lieutenants, deputy chiefs, the chief, the support staff, all of you that make this such a safe community. And it's really wonderful to be up here and to be able to look at all of you and see all the partnerships. And, I've been thinking a lot about, and I won't elaborate here, but I've been talking a lot lately about cities as a platform. And cities aren't just, us providing police services and roads and water and wastewater, but what we do is we get to provide services that add value to people's lives, where they get to, if you think about a platform, and people get to bolt onto that platform, and all kinds of things happen, mostly good things and great things in this community. Because of the platform that the city provides. And to Fort Collins Police Services, I'm so thankful for the work that you all do. I am tremendously appreciative and thankful for the chief and the executive team behind me. I think we have an incredible leadership team behind me here, and I am so thankful for the work that you guys do and the leadership that you provide. I do want to say, I think the chief mentioned that this is our 24th year of this or so of this celebration. I think this is the 19th one that I've been able to come to, and I just, what a privilege it is to be here. So let me also say that I know that many of the awards this year are going to be humanitarian awards. There's certainly safety and security and those kinds of awards. There'll be individuals who'll be recognized for that, but there are a lot of humanitarian types of things that we're going to be recognized, efforts that we're going to be recognized, where you all put out some of your own personal resources. You spent time on your off time, and you went way above and beyond what is expected, which is already a very high level of expectation that you all have in being part of Fort Collins Police Services. So I just want to up here again say thank you on behalf of the council and the executive team in our community. We're very, very appreciative. You know, the other thing is we have, the chief tells me that there are 8 members of the community here today that are going to be recognized, and 15 Fort Collins Police Services employees. So those of you who are being recognized on behalf of the community as well, and you stepping up when in many cases you didn't need to do that, I also will salute you and tell you how much we appreciate it. So, and then one final thing, you know, one of the privileges of this job is to be able to see this community both at the ground level and then at 50,000 feet. And I refer to zoom in and zoom out. And what I so much appreciate about what you all are doing as a team, and even with our regional partners, is that when you have to be down at the ground level, you do it with such professionalism and such dedication and such competency. And when you have to zoom out and you're looking at the bigger picture, you do that with grace. You do that in a way that this community, no question about it, appreciates. Last Sunday, I'll stop with this. Last Sunday, my wife and I were attending church here, and from the pulpit, the pastor talked to the congregation here, which is a couple thousand people, and asked people to take a minute and stop at a table or a series of tables down the way, and just to thank you as police services and law enforcement folks from throughout the region. Just take time to say thank you. There were hundreds and hundreds of cards that were filled out. So if you ever doubt whether or not this community appreciates your work, please don't, because for every one critic, there's 1,000+ people who are very, very grateful for the work that you're doing. So with that, I look forward to the celebration, and thank you for your service. It's greatly appreciated.
Thank you, Darren. Each month of the year, Fort Collins Police Services celebrates an employee who has gone above and beyond their normal job duties. They are nominated by a manager, supervisor, or one of their peers for the work they have done that has positively impacted the agency or the community. I would like to now acknowledge our 12 Employees of the Month for 2015. Officer Don Johnson, Officer Brian Ivers, Lieutenant Dan Murphy, Dispatch Supervisor Amy Huff, Police Services Technician Georgette Wallace, Administrative Assistant Terry Murphy, Administrative Assistant Aubrey Walter, Officer Jared Hardy, Officer Michael Moat, PC Support Specialist Jerry Mitchell, Dispatcher Brandy Nauta, and Dispatch Supervisor Ellie Arvizo. Thank you very much. Now comes one of the parts I enjoy the most. As much as I really enjoy awarding officers for their work, when I'm able to give community members awards for stepping up, it's the part of this that I enjoy the most. Unfortunately, a couple of our community members that we're honoring today couldn't be here, but it's their actions were worthy of being recognized here today. On August 3rd, 2015, Donna Da Silva an informant reported the theft of his mother's $3,000 bicycle to police after he had left it outside of Fossil Ridge High School. Several days later, Donna Da Silva was walking along a path near Fossil Ridge High School when she observed a very expensive bike unattended in the weeds near a path. After observing the bike lying in the weeds for several consecutive days, Donna began a quest to locate its owner. Donna first contacted the police department, but due to a miscommunication over the serial number, it was not reported as stolen. Donna decided to post several ads on Craigslist and a Fort Collins bicycle enthusiast websites, stating she had located a bicycle and would like to return it to its lawful owner. On August 27th, 2015, Officer Chris Wren was searching Craigslist in search of stolen bicycles and came across Donna's ad. Donna provided the serial number to Officer Wren, and it did in fact result in a stolen bicycle hit in the database. Through his conversation with Donna, Officer Wren found her to be truly compassionate and generous, and he was amazed with her concern for others when she herself was going through some medical issues. Like I said, Donna couldn't be with us today, but I'm going to accept the meritorious service citation on her behalf. So if anybody knows Donna, tell her thank you very much. On September 15th, 2015, the First Citizens Bank was robbed at gunpoint. After receiving money from the bank tellers, the suspect fled the bank on foot through the parking lot. Sarah Averick had just picked up her daughter from school and was driving through the parking lot to the west side of Citizens Bank. She saw a masked individual appearing to be carrying something in his hand. Considering the weather outside, she thought it was strange the male would be wearing a stocking cap pulled down over his face. Sarah stopped her vehicle as the male was crossing directly in front of her, and he removed the mask, exposing his face while looking right at Sarah. She called 911 and watched the male continue to the north down a dirt path towards a residential subdivision. Sarah remained on scene and flagged down officers arriving in the area so she could point out the direction the suspect had gone. Once officers contacted and detained the male, Sarah positively identified the suspect as the person she saw running and removing the stocking cap mask he was wearing over his face. Without her assistance, the suspect may have remained unidentified. So unfortunately, Sarah is not able to be with us today, but Detective Chris Wagner, I believe, is going to be accepting the meritorious service citation on her behalf. Emily Allen. Emily Allen serves in the CSU Off-Campus Life Office, as well as works as a community liaison for the city's Community Development and Neighborhood Services Department. As such, Emily has partnered with Fort Collins Police Services for many years in helping maintain a high quality of life and partnership for residents and CSU students living within neighborhoods. Several of the programs she oversees are the Fall Community Welcome, Fall Cleanup, and Party Registration programs. She also trains officers, meeting with all night shift officers in the spring and fall, educating them of the latest city and CSU services and alternatives to reduce nuisance crimes. She additionally meets with CSU students, citizens, Fort Collins Police Services personnel, and CSU Judicial Affairs regarding the nuisance gathering ordinance, which holds partygoers responsible for damage they cause. Because of her hard work, Fort Collins Police Services has experienced a continued reduction in police calls for service and nuisance crimes. Emily's efforts and her role as a community liaison demonstrate her commitment and dedication to maintaining a high quality of life for the Fort Collins community. I'm pleased to present Emily with the meritorious service citation. This one's going to be fun. Bridger Yett. In early December, Bridger Yett and his mom Laura were shopping for Cub Scout supplies while walking through the Home Depot parking lot. Bridger noticed a $100 bill on the ground. He told his mom he wanted to turn it in so the rightful owner could claim it. Bridger wanted to turn the money into the police so the next day they came to Fort Collins Police Services. The story was posted on our social media pages, and local reporters wanted to speak with Bridger about his decision. He agreed to because he hoped it would inspire other people to do the right thing. During interviews, Bridger expressed a lot of concern for the money's owner. He also said he would feel guilty if he kept the money because he hadn't earned it and it didn't belong to him. Bridger did decide that if the owner didn't come forward in the required 40-day holding period, he would donate the money to his church or to the local food bank. The owner of the money saw the story and correctly identified the denomination and location of the found cash. He told Bridger he had saved Christmas for his family. This young man's unwavering devotion to the needs of others makes him a role model for our community, children and adults alike. Bridger, I'm very pleased to present you with the Meritorious Service Citation. Bridger. Bridger's 9, so we'll be hiring in about 18 years or so. Dr. Michael Farrell and the staff at the Spine Correction Center of the Rockies. In July of 2015, several Fort Collins police officers were seeing Dr. Michael Farrell and his staff at the Spine Correction Center of the Rockies for back pain. Because of this, Dr. Farrell and Officer Josh Golden began investigating why this was occurring. Dr. Farrell donated his time, expertise, and facilities to help find a solution. Dr. Farrell and his staff met with officers multiple times, helping them with treatment and taking x-rays of officers wearing different equipment options to see what happened to the spine while wearing the various pieces of equipment. Dr. Farrell did not charge the department for any services. In the end, this became known as the Load-Bearing External Vest Carrier Project, and Dr. Farrell provided his medical opinion and recommendations to our agency. Dr. Farrell and his staff's selfless actions and commitment have contributed greatly to the health and well-being of our officers. I think I saw at least a couple of our officers here that are working that are wearing them right now. So with gratitude, I am pleased to present you and your staff with this Distinguished Service Commendation. On December 13th, 2014, a masked individual walked into the Walgreens at 2190 West Drake Road and approached the pharmacy. The individual presented a note demanding that the pharmacist give him controlled substances and referenced having a gun. The pharmacist complied with the demands of the robber and the suspect fled the store. The suspect returned to the pharmacy 2 more times in February. Our award recipient, Joseph Adamian, an employee at the Walgreens, decided to take a stance to do whatever he could to assist the police with capturing the suspect. When the suspect returned on April 24, 2015, Joseph was working and knew exactly what he was going to do because of the planning and scenarios he had discussed with Fort Collins Police Detective Mike Averitt. During his interaction with the suspect, Joseph was able to remain calm and activate a silent alarm while delivering a tracking device to the suspect. Joseph then contacted the police and notified them. The suspect was tracked to his residence and was in custody 20 minutes after fleeing the Walgreens. Joseph's ability to remain calm in a rapidly escalating situation while also following a plan that had been discussed for the successful identification and apprehension of the suspect is evidence of his unending desire to help those he works with feel safe in their work environment and take a criminal off our streets. For your assistance to this agency, I am pleased to present the Distinguished Service Commendation. On February 16, 2016, Beth Hayes called 911 to report an elderly male who was struggling to cross the intersection at Riverside in LeMay. The elderly male had a prosthetic leg and was stuck in the middle of the intersection. Beth stopped her vehicle to help the male to the sidewalk, fearing he may have been hit by traffic. She noticed he was disoriented and could not remember where he lived or how long he had been outside. Beth comforted the man and he eventually remembered being at Walmart. Beth drove the man to Walmart, assisted him into the store, and then purchased some food for him. He still was unsure of where he was, and at this point, Beth called the police to assist. After police arrived, Beth continued to stay with the male to keep him calm, and they noticed he was clearly comforted by her. The emergency responders were touched by Beth's kind gesture and her determination to make sure he got home safely. Officer Mike Cutter, who nominated her, said he was glad he was able to meet such a caring and concerned citizen of Fort Collins. Beth, I'm pleased to present you with the Distinguished Service Commendation. 'Cause 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 ' On February 23rd, John Janke observed a female hanging out of the front passenger window of a minivan screaming for help. She was being physically assaulted while the van was traveling south on Shield Street. John followed the vehicle, and it pulled over onto a side street and stopped. Without hesitation, he stopped his car in front of the minivan, exited his vehicle, and began approaching the van. As he was doing this, the female victim was able to flee from the van and the suspect, who was continuing to assault her. She ran behind John for protection. The male suspect then charged at John, who held his ground and told the suspect to stay back and that he was calling the police. The suspect then fled the scene on foot. John remained on scene with the female victim and her small child until officers arrived. He also provided a detailed statement which ultimately helped lead to a warrant for the suspect's arrest. John was the only citizen on the busy street who cared enough about his fellow citizens to call the police. He also put his own safety in danger when he decided to exit his vehicle and to intervene on behalf of the victim. Thank you, and we are pleased to present you with the Distinguished Service Commendation. Our next set of awards will be presented by Information Services Deputy Chief Greg Yeager.
I'm going to ask these folks to come up before I start talking. Dispatch Supervisor Amy Raditz and dispatchers Kelsey Cahill, Lucas Hensley, Caitlin Lanteri, Brandy Nada, and Tracy Stark. So as the chief said, I'm the deputy chief of our Information Services Division, and I have the good fortune to have four very distinct teams. I have our IT folks, I have our Property and Evidence, and our Records Division, and then I also have our dispatchers. And these folks today represent our part of our dispatch team, and so as they get adjusted here, I'll read this citation to you. On January 13th, 2016, at approximately 1:40 in the morning, a call came into Fort Collins 911 from a young boy. What began as faint words in the background soon became a small child asking for help. His family was involved in an accident where the vehicle had rolled down a 100-foot embankment and they were stuck in a ditch. He had no way of knowing where they were. Amy and Caitlin compassionately talked with the boy throughout the call, and they reassured him. They learned that his mother was in labor and that the family had been heading to the hospital when she and her husband were injured in the crash. Locating and assisting this family became a team effort. Kelsey was the fire and EMS dispatcher managing the multiple responding units while keeping them updated with the pertinent information. Lucas, Brandy, and Tracy assisted by searching for information on the phone number from which the boy was calling and pinpointing the location on a map. Ultimately, the boy was rescued along with his mother, and a healthy baby was born. Sadly, the father passed away from his injuries. This was a very difficult call emotionally and tactically, but these members of our Fort Collins 911 team demonstrated teamwork, professionalism, and compassion while fulfilling our mission to provide exceptional service to our community. I am very pleased to present them with the Police Chief's Unit Commendation.
Usually we get to hide behind a phone or radio, so this is kind of nerve-wracking for me. But I just wanted to say, a few words. We wanted to thank a few people. Our communications manager, Carol Workman, for her amazing support in the days after this incident, as well as Poudre Fire Authority Battalion Chief Brandon Garcia, University of Colorado Health staff members who were there for us as well, and also our dispatch family who was there for us, as well as our own family and friends. We would like to accept this award in honor of the Schmucker family. Thank you.
I would now like to introduce our Assistant Chief, Jerry Schauger.
Good afternoon. I'm pleased to continue with another award. If I could have Matt Johnson and Dean Cunningham step up to the stage, please. I'm pleased to present this next award, the Commitment to Excellence, to Sergeant Dean Cunningham and Sergeant Matt Johnson. For an extended period of time last year, our public information officer position was vacant. Sergeant Dean Cunningham and Sergeant Matt Johnson agreed to fill in and take over this very important position for our agency. Not only did they fill in during this time, they improved the quality and consistency of our media interactions and built positive relationships with local and regional reporters. They also developed a system that increased our responsiveness to the media and the public by using a Google Voice media line. Their social media efforts have increased community engagement significantly. These accomplishments were achieved while they were each still holding a busy full-time job at the agency and required great personal and professional investment. Their dedication to building relationships, keeping the community informed, and telling our story as a department has benefited the entire agency. I am pleased to present you both with the Commitment to Excellence Award. I've been informed that Dean Cunningham would like to say a few words. So we'll be hopefully wrapping up pretty quickly.
Matt and I just want to say no comment, and we can't comment until the investigation's complete. In all seriousness, it's been my honor to speak for the men and women of the Fort Collins Police Department. It is exciting for me and a true joy to get to tell the story of everything, all the good things that we do, and get to shape the narrative in the way that the community looks at us. And I appreciate all the support that everybody gave us while when we do this. So thank you very much.
You can see why he's good at that. Thank you. So I'd like to introduce Deputy Chief Dave Haywood from the Investigations Division.
This next award is to Detective Tammy Tracy and Detective Jeff Laguna of the Fort Collins Police Services and Corporal Dan Gillum of the Larimer County Sheriff's Office. They're receiving the agency's Commitment to Excellence Award. On December 12, 2014, detectives from the Criminal Impact Unit were attempting to take a male into custody. The male began to flee from police and fired a handgun from his vehicle at a police vehicle occupied by Officer Jake Schneider. Following the man's capture, the vehicle was seized. Detective Tammy Tracy immediately recognized the need for extensive processing of both the vehicle and the scene to prove the round was fired directly at Officer Schneider, and to quash any possible defense, the round was an accidental discharge. Detective Tracy solicited the help of crime scene investigator Jeff Laguna and Corporal Dan Gillum of the Larimer County Sheriff's Office to gather the physical evidence required to prove the attempted murder charge. All three of these investigators worked diligently and collectively to document and preserve evidence and conduct testing to prove what occurred, and to also disprove the defendant's version of the events. In addition to their hard work, their testimony at the trial in November of 2015 was critical to the jury finding the defendant guilty of the attempted murder of Officer Schneider. Deputy District Attorney Brent Baylor stated that what they did went well above and beyond what we usually see. He stated he believed the jury might have found the defendant guilty on a lesser charge without the work of these investigators. With gratitude, I'm pleased to present them with the Commitment to Excellence Award. Our next honor is for Detective Neil Heisem, who is receiving the agency's Commitment to Excellence Award. On January 22nd, 2016, Detective Neil Heisem was investigating a suicide call. A vehicle had been involved in this traumatic incident and had been damaged. Detective Heisem learned the wife of the deceased was not able to pay the insurance deductible. She has 3 children and had no alternative transportation. Detective Heisem cleaned the car and then worked with a local company to have repairs done at a discounted price. Officer Heisem was able to return the car to the widow at a time when she needed it most. In his nomination, Detective Darrell King stated Detective Heisem consistently provides customer service that goes above and beyond what is expected, something to which I agree very much. For his selfless actions, I'm pleased to present Detective Neil Heisem with the Commitment to Excellence Award. Detective Chris Wagner is the recipient of our next Commitment to Excellence Award. In February, Detective Chris Wagner discovered a new software program that would analyze Excel reports from cell phone providers that the department receives as a part of a search warrant. Detective Wagner contacted the vendor and set up a 30-day trial of the system. Information like this has normally taken individual detectives over 40 hours to analyze. With this new system, it only took Detective Wagner 5 minutes. During this time, Detective Wagner was also investigating a series of residential burglaries. He identified a pattern of crimes based on the suspect's method of entry and items targeted at the locations of the burglaries. He also found they were occurring within a similar geographic area. A suspect was identified, and Detective Wagner used GPS tracking technology and the new phone record program to identify other burglaries connected to this suspect. A search warrant led to a number of items of evidence being recovered, including items stolen from several other victims. Detective Wagner has successfully connected the suspect to 21 burglary cases and another 50 closed cases that are under review. This is a great example of a detective pulling at the threads of an investigation and unraveling the misdeeds of a career criminal. The software program that Detective Wagner helped implement has been instrumental in other investigations in the Criminal Investigations Division and will continue to be valuable in the future. For your excellent work, I'm pleased to present you with the Commitment to Excellence Award. Our final Criminal Investigations Division Award goes to Detective David Grant. He is also receiving the Commitment to Excellence Award. On April 17, 2015, Detective Dave Grant was attending training at another agency when his supervisor, Sergeant Paul Wood, asked him to look into a bicycle theft and pawn case where the victim's $4,000 bicycle had been stolen in unincorporated Larimer County and then pawned in the city. The victim had found his bicycle at a pawn shop where they were demanding that he buy it back from them. Detective Grant researched the case on a break at training and determined he could pursue charges of false declaration to a pawnbroker. Due to his excellent knowledge of the city ordinance and state statutes associated with the pawn industry, he was also able to put the bike on hold, investigate the case, and file charges. He was also able to have the bicycle returned to its rightful owner, a retired military veteran. In a similar case, Detective Grant discovered a bike stolen from Fort Collins was being pawned in Texas. Coincidentally, Detective Grant was visiting Texas, offered to contact the local agency, and transported the bike back to Fort Collins to be returned to the owner. We tend to think about the large and high-profile cases, but these routine types of cases are not routine to the victims. Dave Grant's pursuit of providing exceptional service to our community demonstrate our agency values, and because of this, I'm very pleased to present him with the Commitment to Excellence Award. I would now like to introduce the Deputy Chief of our Patrol Division, Deputy Chief Mike Trombley.
You know, I've got 167 employees in the patrol division, and I can stand here and tell you I'm proud of every single one of them. Today, though, is a day where a few of them get to come up here and stand literally in the spotlight, and I've got to tell you I'm honored to be a part of that. I'd like the late week midnight shift from June to come up. This award is going to be, you all can make your way up. As they're coming up, this award is going to be to members, again, of the late week midnight shift. This is the group as it existed in June of last year. These officers include Sergeant Bob Younger, Officer Ian Alcorn, Officer Brian Brown, Officer Adam Brunges, Officer Matt Chernak, Officer Drew Edmonds, Officer Andy Ferraro, Officer Mike Howard, Officer Garrett Pastor, Officer Tyler Patterson, and Officer Jake Schneider. On June 20th of 2015, Officers Garrett Pastor and Brian Brown were assigned to foot patrol. They contacted a man and a woman with a young boy in a parking lot. They asked that family why they were out so late. The parents reported that they were homeless and looking for a tree to spend the night under. The officers pooled their resources and found a local hotel with a vacancy. The young boy thanked the officers for providing him with a warm place to stay for the night. Both officers, Pastor and Brown, personally provided money to purchase a week's stay at that hotel for the family and provided them with groceries. These officers later discussed that situation with their midnight shift teammates and Sergeant Bob Younger. Sergeant Younger was able to locate and secure permanent housing for that family, and the remainder of the midnight shift officers pitched in to stock the family's kitchen with food and supplies. For their selfless conduct and taking efforts to ensure people in our community are safe and receive quality services, I'm honored to present these officers and Sergeant Younger with the Police Chief's Unit Commendation. This next award is going to be presented to Sergeant Laura Lunsford, and she's receiving the Police Chief's Commendation today. On October 9th of 2015, Sergeant Lunsford took a call from Front Range Community College in reference to questions that they had about a student. That student wished to be readmitted to the school, but the concerning behavior that he had demonstrated and was continuing to exhibit was alarming, and the school wanted to know what their options were to prevent his return. Sergeant Lunsford listened to their concerns and was determined to provide them as much information as she could. Later in the month, Front Range Community College contacted her again, as did that student's therapist, regarding homicidal threats that they were making regarding both the school and the staff. Sergeant Lunsford was already working with the district attorney's office and invested in the case, so she took it upon herself to take that call for service and continue with the investigation. Through that investigation, Sergeant Lunsford determined that there was a credible threat that existed to the school, their employees, and to the students. A search warrant was served, and it produced both firearms and hundreds of rounds of ammunition that were illegal for that student to possess. Charges were filed against the suspect, and that case was eventually taken over by the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives. When that call came in, Sergeant Lunsford could have easily passed that case on to a patrol officer. However, due to her prior knowledge, her existing investment, her tenacity and initiative, she maintained her involvement and worked through the case. Recognizing Laura with this award just reinforces the high caliber work that Sergeant Lunsford does on a daily basis. Laura, I'm pleased to present you with the Police Chief's Commendation.
I just wanted to take a quick second to acknowledge the staff at Front Range and the doctor for actually bringing this forward to us. We deal with a lot of things on a regular basis, but it really took a tremendous amount of courage for them to come forward, and I'm glad they were invested in their own students and community to help partner with us to do this. We don't do this alone. I think everybody here acknowledges that everybody makes a difference for us. So just really wanted to point out that I really want to commend their courage for that.
This next award is going to be presented to Officer Josh Golden. He's also going to be receiving the Police Chief's Commendation Award. Over the past several years, Officer Josh Golden had noticed an increase in back injuries and pain, not only to himself, but to other officers in the agency. Officer Golden extensively researched causes and reasons as to why this was occurring in modern policing. He learned that due to the increase in the amount of equipment officers were being issued and wear on their duty belts, officers' spines and hips were becoming torqued and rotated in unnatural positions during motion. Along with Dr. Farrell and staff at the Spine Correction Center of the Rockies, Josh investigated possible short-term and long-term solutions. They learned that removing most of the equipment from the duty belt and wearing it on a load-bearing external vest was the best solution. Officer Golden researched and found an acceptable load-bearing vest for Fort Collins Police Services to help with the alignment of our officers' back and hips. I'll tell you, Chief mentioned this, but you see a number of officers wearing these vests around today, and I can honestly tell you that we wouldn't have those if it hadn't been for the initiative that Josh took to really kind of bring this issue to light and really stay with it and be tenacious. So Josh, for your efforts in helping to reduce injuries and improve the overall health of Fort Collins police officers, I'm proud to present you with the Police Chief's Commendation. Okay, our last patrol award is being presented to Officer Matt Chernak and Officer Chris Wren for the Commitment to Excellence Award. On March 3rd, Officer Matt Chernak handled a vehicle theft call. The two suspects had stolen the victim's car, leaving her stranded several miles from home without a ride or her wallet. Officer Chernak entered the vehicle as stolen, relayed information about the stolen car to other officers, and then gave that victim a ride home. Officer Chris Wren was off duty and driving southbound on I-25 when he observed that stolen vehicle after seeing Officer Chernak's information about it. Officer Wren followed the vehicle to Meade and coordinated with law enforcement there to perform a high-risk stop on that vehicle. Officer Wren then stayed on scene and helped process the vehicle for evidence. Officer Chernak notified the victim that her vehicle had been found, and since she had no way to get to Meade, he picked her up and drove her there to retrieve her vehicle. Due to Officer Chernak and Officer Wren's quick and professional work, the vehicle was returned without any damage and with a majority of the items still inside. At that point, the victim then realized that the tank in her vehicle was empty, and she had already canceled her credit cards because of the theft. Therefore, she had no way to get home. Without hesitation, Officer Chernak used his own credit card to fill up the victim's gas tank so that she could get back home. And Matt, for your compassionate action and dedication, I'm very happy to present you with the Commitment to Excellence Award.
On June 23rd, 2015, at 12:40 in the afternoon, dispatch received a 911 call of a female who was hanging on the third floor balcony of an apartment complex and was about to fall. The family advised the female had made comments about suicide and was intent on jumping off the balcony. Officer Katie Carver was the first officer on the scene, and she immediately responded to the third floor and grabbed onto the female to keep the female from falling. When Poudre Fire Authority arrived, they were able to get a ladder and a firefighter up to the balcony so the female could be safely brought to the ground. Officer Carver's actions were the reason the female was saved from serious injury or death. For this reason, I'm pleased to award her with the Medal of Merit. On September 17th, 2015, Officer Adam Brunges responded to assist fire and medical personnel with a call regarding a 36-year-old male who was unconscious. Officer Brunges arrived and determined that the subject did not have a pulse and was not breathing. Officer Brunges immediately began giving CPR. When medical personnel arrived, they also evaluated the situation and had Officer Brunges continue CPR. A short time later, the subject began to breathe on his own again and had a pulse. He was transported to the hospital and later released. For Officer Brunges' quick response to the scene and immediate application of CPR that saved this person's life, I'm pleased to present him with the Medal of Merit. On December 29th, 2015, Officer Matt Hahn responded to the report of a suicidal female who was bleeding at the top of a parking garage in downtown Fort Collins. Upon arriving on scene, Officer Hahn was able to calm the frantic subject by talking to her, eventually convincing her to put down the razor she was holding. He noticed she was bleeding heavily from multiple areas and used Quick Clot to stop her from bleeding out through the lacerations to her neck. Officer Hahn's quick thinking and medical aid successfully stopped the bleeding prior to EMS arriving on scene and taking over care of the subject. Matt, for your actions that possibly saved the life of this person, I'm proud to award you with the Medal of Merit. On July 18th, 2015, Officer Adam Brunges and Tyler Patterson were dispatched to the report of a disturbance involving a male making threats towards his roommates. When Officers Brunges and Patterson arrived in the area, they noticed a female waving them over and pointing to the subject causing the disturbance. As the officers approached the male, he turned and sprinted towards the informant's female friend and attacked her. Officer Patterson immediately reacted by tackling the suspect to the ground. The officers were then alerted that the suspect had a knife. They disengaged from the suspect, drew their service weapons, and gave verbal commands. The suspect was kneeling on the ground, holding the knife pointed toward the officers. The suspect was warned several times by officers to drop the knife. The suspect refused to comply with the officers' commands and then stood up and advanced towards the officers, putting them at risk of serious bodily harm or death. Both officers responded with deadly force to protect themselves and the roommate. Officer Brunges then immediately attended to the female who had been stabbed in the upper chest area. Officer Patterson began giving medical attention to the suspect and continued to do so until paramedics arrived. Officer Brunges and Officer Patterson acted above the call of duty, saving another person from serious bodily injury or death. Their response to the situation was professional, appropriate, and within the law and policy. Both officers acted within their training and skills and responded to a serious life or death situation with great valor. I'm pleased to present them both with the Medal of Valor. In closing, I would like to thank you for attending this ceremony and helping us to honor these very special people. It's always very, very important to me for the community to see not only what the officers are doing on a daily basis, but for the officers to also see the support that the community gives them. We're very, very proud to serve this community. So with that, please drive home safely and enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you.